What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and if you are a New York Rangers fan right now, I need you to sit down, take a deep breath, and really think about what this team is walking into next season, because on the surface it looks exciting, it looks bold, it looks like Chris Drury just pulled off some kind of masterstroke. But when you actually peel back the layers and look at what this top six is really built on right now, there are some very serious questions that nobody seems to be asking loud enough, and that is exactly what we are going to do today. So buckle up, because this one is going to go deep. Let's set the stage. Chris Drury sent a letter to Rangers fans earlier this year making it crystal clear that this organization was embarking on a retool. Not a full rebuild, but a retool, and that it would involve trading popular players. And he delivered on that promise in a way that genuinely shocked a lot of people. Artemi Panarin, the Rangers' all-time leader in points per game, was traded to the Los Angeles Kings in exchange for Liam Greentree and a conditional 2026 third-round pick. Read that again. Artemi Panarin, the guy who had been the engine of this offense for years, the guy who made every line mate around him better, the guy Rangers fans adored, was shipped to LA for a prospect and a mid-round pick. That move alone sent shockwaves through the entire fan base, and it fundamentally changed what this team is now trying to be. On top of that, Vincent Trocheck was also moved, and the Rangers signed Joe Veleno to a one-year contract in free agency to help fill that void down the middle. So you have lost your best forward and one of your most versatile centers, and you are replacing them with a reclamation project at center and a shiny new toy on the wing. That is the reality of where this roster stands right now, and it matters a lot when we talk about the top six. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The Rangers pulled off a stunning trade with the Vegas Golden Knights to acquire Pavel Dorofeyev, and they agreed to a 7-year, $77 million contract with him, making him the highest-paid skater on the roster. $77 million. 7 years. For a guy who has never been a true number one option on a Stanley Cup contender, but who has all the tools to become one. Dorofeyev put up a career-high 37 goals and 64 points last regular season, then absolutely caught fire in the playoffs with 12 goals in 22 games, as Vegas made their run to the Cup final. The numbers are real. The talent is real. Nobody is disputing that. But context matters enormously here, and that is where I want you to pay close attention. Dorofeyev spent most of the regular season playing alongside Mitch Marner and Tomas Hertl, and in the postseason he was skating with Jack Eichel and Ivan Barbashev. Those are elite-level centers, elite-level playmakers, elite-level situations. The question Rangers fans need to ask themselves right now is, what happens when you drop Pavel Dorofeyev into a lineup that does not have that same caliber of center support? Because Mika Zibanejad is a very good player, a legitimate top-line center, but he is not Jack Eichel in terms of pure explosive offensive creation. And that gap matters when you are betting $77 million and 7 years on a guy's offensive output. The early projections have Dorofeyev lining up alongside Zibanejad, with either Alexis Lafreniere or Gabe Perreault completing that top line. On paper, that sounds fantastic, and I genuinely get the excitement. But here is the thing that is keeping me up at night as we think about the structure of this top six. You have just removed the one player who made everything easier for everybody around him, and his name was Artemi Panarin. Panarin was not just a scorer. He was a creator. He elevated line mates. He made Trocheck look like a superstar some nights. He made Lafreniere look like the player everyone wanted him to be. And now he is gone, and the Rangers are asking a bunch of younger players to fill a void that took years to even partially understand. Let's talk about Lafreniere, because this is arguably the most important storyline heading into next season. Alexis Lafreniere finished the 2025-26 season with 14 goals over his final 27 games after the Panarin trade, playing with Zibanejad and showing genuine chemistry with that line. That stretch of hockey was legitimately encouraging. The kid can play. He has always been able to play. The issue has never been talent. It has been deployment, line mates, and opportunity. Lafreniere has always been a natural playmaker going back to his Quebec junior days, but he just hasn't had a finisher like Dorofeyev riding shotgun. So the hope, and this is real hope, not just spin, is that Dorofeyev becomes the finishing complement to Lafreniere's playmaking in the same way Panarin used to be a creator-distributor for everyone around him. If Lafreniere embraces that distributor role, and Dorofeyev buries the chances, that line could be something special. But that is a big if, and there are no guarantees in this league. And then there is Gabe Perreault. Oh man, Gabe Perreault. The 21-year-old put up 27 points including 12 goals and 15 assists in just 49 games as a rookie last season, and he was even better down the stretch with 19 points in his final 28 games. For a first-year player, those numbers are genuinely exciting. He played on the top line with Zibanejad toward the end of the year and did not look out of place. But there is a massive difference between a 28-game hot streak as a rookie and being counted on as a consistent top-six contributor for an entire 84-game season. The Rangers are potentially asking Perreault to make that leap all at once. In a season where there is real pressure to perform, in a market that has very little patience for development curves. The current projected roster has Zibanejad, JT Miller, Noah Laba, and Velino at center, with Lafreniere, Perreault, and Drury filling out the top two lines, and Oliver Bjorkstrand also in the mix for a wing spot. JT Miller is a name worth pausing on here, because people sometimes forget just how much Miller can do when he is locked in and given the right usage. Miller is one of the hardest shots in the entire league. He ranked second among all forwards last season in hardest shot at over 102 miles per hour. That is not a guy you sleep on. If Drury slots in on the top line with Zibanejad, and Miller anchors the second line, this offense could have two genuinely dangerous units. The question is whether the depth behind those two lines is good enough to hold up in a playoff series, because that is where Rangers teams have broken down in recent history. And that brings us back to Chris Drury, and the most important question of this entire video: what does he do next? Because he has said very clearly that he is not done. Drury himself told reporters he's excited by the changes, but explicitly said he's certainly not going to sit here and say the job's done and complete and move on. That is a very deliberate choice of words from a very deliberate man. Drury does not speak carelessly. When he tells you the job is not done, you should believe him. So what could that next move look like? The Rangers still have cap flexibility. They have a prospect pipeline that, while not elite, has some interesting pieces moving through the system. The trade deadline is months away, but in this league the groundwork for those moves gets laid in the summer. If Drury is watching this top six and feeling like the second line needs a more proven hand, if Miller needs a better wing complement, if the power play needs another option beyond Drury and Zibanejad, there is going to be a temptation to go back to the market. Names like Chris Kreider have been discussed as potential trade chips too, and even K'Andre Miller on defense has drawn significant interest around the league. Drury could use any of those pieces as currency to acquire exactly the top six piece this roster might still be missing. Here is the bigger picture though, and I want to end on this, because I think this is what defines whether this Rangers era becomes something truly memorable or just another promising chapter that falls short. The Rangers have missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons after winning the President's Trophy in 2023-24. 2 straight years on the outside looking in. In New York, with Igor Shesterkin in net, one of the best goalies on the planet who is wasting prime years while this roster tries to figure itself out. Every move Drury makes has to be filtered through that lens. The window for Shesterkin is not unlimited. He is not going to be in his prime forever. And a 7-year, $77 million deal for Drury is a massive statement that this organization believes the window is still open right now. That is either going to look like genius in 3 years, or it is going to look like an anchor that weighs this franchise down through a painful era of cap management. The top six is genuinely exciting. There is real talent there. Drury is a legitimate star. Lafreniere might finally be in the right situation. Perreault could be a revelation. But the structure is fragile, the depth questions are real, and the pressure on every single one of these players to perform is enormous. Drury weaponized cap space and draft capital to make this happen, and now the entire organization is betting that the pieces fit together the way they are drawn up on the whiteboard. That almost never goes exactly according to plan. And that is why the next move Chris Drury makes, whether it is before training camp, at the deadline, or somewhere in between, could genuinely define whether this Rangers rebuild becomes a resurgence or just another reset. Drop your thoughts in the